Dear friends, this season of Christmas, let us revisit the nativity story. We have heard about Jesus' birth multiple times. We have reflected upon it, we have read it, we have heard sermons about it, we have watched it in many movies. I will just revisit this nativity scene. Joseph along with Mary, they leave from Nazareth and they come to Bethlehem because of the census and they have to write down their names. Now Joseph and Mary, if we just think about it, we believe or we think about it or we reflect upon it, saying that Joseph and Mary, they left early in the morning and they came walking, along with the donkey to Bethlehem. They walked the entire day, and as they reached Bethlehem, Mary is supposed to give birth to Jesus. And because of this, they go about searching for an inn, to a hotel, a place, a private place where they can give birth to Jesus. They go knocking on all the doors of the inn. And as the Bible says, there is no room in the inn. And the only place they get is a stable. They go in the stable, Joseph, Mary, along with all the animals who were there, in their presence, they give birth to Jesus. This is the narrative that we have been hearing many times. We have grown hearing this, reflecting upon this. Friends, a few things that come in my mind. There are few flaws I feel in this narrative. And what we have heard, what we have grown up with, it seems like Joseph looks very incompetent. Meaning he is given the charge to take care of Mary, to take care of Jesus. And he, after coming to Bethlehem, he was unable to give a comfortable place. He was unable to make a beautiful place for Mary where she can give birth to Jesus. It looks as if Joseph is incompetent. But taking the entire scenario, taking the entire narrative, let us look into few of the challenges or some flaws that we can see in this entire narrative. The first thing is that Joseph is from Bethlehem, that is his hometown, and he's staying in Nazareth. Now Jews, they had very close family ties. We can see also in the Gospel of Matthew, in the Gospel of Luke, where Jesus' entire genealogy is given, meaning it was so very important to know who are your ancestors. Now Joseph's hometown is Bethlehem. He must have gone there so many times. He must have visited it so many times as a child, as adult, as adolescent. And now when he's coming to Bethlehem along with Mary, he's searching for an inn, for a hotel to stay. Does it sound right? He would have so many people who are known to him. He may be having his friends, his relatives. Even if he does not have his own house, his relatives will be there. But Joseph, in a sense, he goes about knocking on the doors of inns, at the doors of hotels, and he does not get a place. So friends, even if Joseph did not know anyone, just thinking about him, Joseph did not know anyone. If he would have even gone there and said that I am Joseph, I am the son of Heli, I am the grandson of Matthias. Even if he would give a little family history, anyone would open his door because they would have known his father or his grandfather. This is the first objection or the first flaw that I see in the narrative. The second one that I would like to place is Joseph is of the line of David. Now David is a royal line. He is the king of Israel, the person who is looked up to. And his descendant is coming back to Bethlehem. Now Bethlehem is also known as the city of David. It was so famous because of David that it was literally known. Another name for Bethlehem was city of David. If a descendant of David is coming to his own city and he has no place to stay, what does it say about the people who are living there in Bethlehem? It's a disgrace to the people of Bethlehem because they were unable to cater to the needs of the descendant of David. So even if Joseph would go there and he does not know anyone and he would just say that I am a descendant of David, I think so many would open the door for him. The third flaw that I can see in this entire narrative is, you see in any culture around the world, Pregnant women are given a dignity, they are given respect. People go all out to help out a pregnant woman. Even in India, in Goa, wherever we are, in a bus or in a train or in a government office, if a pregnant woman comes over there, if a mother who is expecting comes over there, anyone will just get up and give her place. Anyone will lead her forward so that her work gets done easily or earlier. But here you see that Mary, who is pregnant, who is expecting, is going door to door asking for people to give her place to rest. And nobody looks up to her. We say about humanity, if the cultures all over the world have this humanness, then Bethlehem was so hard-hearted, so stone-hearted that they saw this pregnant woman, but no one came forward to help her. A question mark, a small flaw that I see in the entire narrative. Another one that I would like to place. See, Mary has come to Bethlehem, which is part of Judea. Now there are relatives of Mary, that is Zacharias and Elizabeth. They are from Judea. Just a little forward in the Gospels, we see that as soon as Angel Gabriel told Mary that Elizabeth is conceived and she's going to give birth to a son, she leaves everything in haste. She goes to meet Elizabeth in the hill town of Judea. Now Bethlehem is in Judea, and there was no much distance, or the house of Zechariah and Elizabeth was very close to Bethlehem. So even if Joseph and Mary do not find place anywhere in Bethlehem, they could have easily, walk a few more miles and go and stay at the house of Elizabeth and Zechariah. And they would have welcomed them beautifully, warmly, and Jesus would have a beautiful place to be born in instead of the manger. So these are a few flaws that we see. According to biblical researchers, according to biblical scholars, they say that Joseph came from Nazareth to Bethlehem, but it was not that night itself that Mary gave birth to Jesus, because in the Gospels, in Luke chapter 2 verse 6, it says, when they were in Bethlehem, Mary gives birth to Jesus. It's not said that the night that they reached Bethlehem, Mary gives birth, but when they were in Bethlehem. So taking this into consideration, the scholars, the biblical researchers say that Joseph and Mary did not reach at that very night when they gave birth to Jesus, but they came to Bethlehem, they settled down, and then Jesus was born. But many times we feel that this whole narrative of knocking on doors, asking for place, this is all coming from Luke chapter 2 verse 7, where it is said, there was no room in the inn, and so Mary wrapped Jesus in swaddling clothes and placed him in the manger. There was no room in the inn. How do we see this line, or how can we interpret this line? Inn, inn, that is INN, that we say in English, or khanavod we say in Konkani. In Greek, there are two words that describes an inn. One is pendokion, pendokion, and the other is kataluma. Now, if we go to Luke chapter 10, you see the narrative or the parable of the Good Samaritan. And Jesus says that the Good Samaritan took that injured person and he took him to an inn, and he gave the master who is there, the innkeeper, some money and told him to take care of this injured person. The Greek word that is used for inn is pendokion. It means a commercial inn where money has to be paid in order to get services. But now let's go to see in the Gospel of Luke itself in chapter 22. Jesus sends his disciples and he says, go and find the master of the house and tell the master that prepare the room for the supper of our Lord. Prepare the room, the inn. Give us room in the inn. The word used here is kataluma. Now kataluma means a guest room in a private house, not a commercial inn. A guest room in a private house. So when you talk about the word in Greek, you have two words, that is pendokion, which means a commercial inn, and also inn means kataluma, which means a guest room in a private house. So in order to understand this whole biblical narrative, we need to know the setting of an Israelite or the house of an Israelite. The house of an Israelite was just one room. So as you enter the door, first there were few steps to go to the basement. Now in the basement they would keep the animals, especially during the night they used to keep the animals, so that all those who are living in the room during cold nights and all, the animals would give them warmth, and also it would save them from theft. If you keep them outside, then there was lots of chances of it to be stolen, so they would keep it in the house. The basement that is there, now the family room was a little higher above, and it was a slope, a sort of. At the end, this side, there were two mangers kept. It may be of wood or it can be of stone. So the animals who are kept in the manger, in the basement, at night, if they feel hungry, they could just stand up, and through the opening, they would eat the food that is kept in the manger. Okay, the hay that is kept in the manger. And the family, the entire family, the Israelite family, would stay in that one room. This was the house of an Israelite. Most of the houses of Israelites had another attached room. So it was a two-room house. So the attached room was a guest room for anyone who would come, maybe a friend, a relative. Many times in the Old Testament we find reference of these guest rooms where Elisha would come and stay in the guest room. Now this guest room could be attached to the house, okay, to the room, just attached to it, or it could be an upper room that is a little higher, that is on the first floor, as you say. So the guest room could be at either place. So now when we look at this narrative, the way it is, the biblical scholars and researchers say that Joseph and Mary came to the house of maybe a friend of Joseph or a relative of Joseph, and there was no room in the inn. So this word inn can be taken as a guest room in a private house. So already someone was there in the guest room, so there was no place in the guest room. And that's the reason that Mary and Joseph did not stay in the guest room, but they stayed along with the family, the family that was there. So at this place, Jesus was born amongst other people, amongst the animals, we say there, and he was wrapped in the swaddling clothes, and that manger that was used by the animals, he was placed in the manger there. So if you look into this, friends, it's so beautiful that the Son of Man, when he was born, he was not rejected. Many times we hear that Jesus, the Son of God, the creator of the world, he came into this world, he was rejected by the world. No, I don't think so he was rejected, because they gave him the best of the facility. He stayed in a family, in a peasant's family, in a simple family. He was born in a simple house, in a simple family, in a simple place, and he was well taken care of. So friends, if you look into this, okay, now how can I even substantiate more that Jesus was actually born in a house and not in a manger, not in a stable somewhere, in a cold place, in a neglected place, but he was born in a nice, warm environment. Again, substantiated with some of the things that happened during his birth. Like for example, the shepherds come running to see Jesus after the angels tell them that go visit him, you'll see a baby in the manger. And when they come there and they visit Jesus, Mary, Joseph, they left praising God for all they had seen and heard. For all they had seen and heard. All meaning there was a quality of hospitality, and it was really good. Suppose if those shepherds had come there and they would see Mary, Joseph and that small baby Jesus in a very smelly stable, in a very dirty stable. They would see Mary frightened young girl, and they would see Joseph like a very desperate husband, because he could not do whatever is needed to be done. He could not give that comfort. If they would see this family, a scared, a desperate family, the first thing they would say, that come with us, we'll take you all to our place, we'll take care of you. But that's not what happens. They go away praising God, thanking Him for all they had seen and heard. So when they see Jesus, it seems like it was a very comfortable place, a cozy place, a clean place, and that's the reason they do not take a step of saying, Gopa, come with us. Okay, another narrative or another thing that I can say to substantiate this claim of Jesus being born in a house is that in Matthew chapter 2, we see that the Magi, the wise men, come to visit Jesus, and the words that are used in Matthew are this: the wise men entered the house where they saw Mary and the child. They entered the house. Okay, so Jesus must have been born in that house in Bethlehem. Once he was born, he must have stayed for some time at that place. Okay, so this too confirms the birth of Jesus in a private home. So friends, keeping all of this together, we can summarize the whole thing that Joseph was not an inadequate husband. He was not incompetent, but he took good care of Mary and Jesus. The child, Jesus, was born in a normal surrounding, in a very cozy place, in a peasant's house, in a simple house. And after they arrived in Bethlehem, after some time, the people of Bethlehem offered the best that they had. The shepherds, they were not hard-headed. So once they saw that they were comfortable and they were cozy, then they went away. They did not leave them in that smelly stable. And also, the whole thing ends with this. In Isaiah chapter 1, it is said, "Ox and ass before him bow, for he is now in the manger." Yes, friends, that Jesus was born. He was placed in a manger. But this manger was not in an isolated place, not in a lonely, in a cold place. But this manger was in a nice, beautiful home, a simple home. So Jesus was born in a simple home with people around him who took care of him. Friends, this Christmas, Jesus wants to be born once again in your home, in our hearts, in our lives. He does not want a guest room. He does not want to be put in that crib there, in that stable there, but he wants to be born in your home. Such a beautiful understanding that you get. If you understand Jesus was born in a home, he wanted to be born among simple people in a simple place. And this is what he wants right now, to be born in our homes, in our hearts and in our lives. Not to be placed away in a guest room, or not to be placed away just in a crib, in a stable. So, keeping this in mind, the whole narrative that we see, it's a beautiful way of understanding, of rethinking, of questioning all that we have learned from when we were small. The traditional narrative story of Jesus and how we can place it in a biblical context with the current thought of the biblical scholars and researchers. Thank you, friends, and let us grow in this love of Jesus, and let us welcome him into our homes, into our hearts, and into our lives. Thank you.